What's up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be looking over the 11.6 update notes. The new event's going to be the Cruel Warm Winter, and then we're also going to get the Hastatus and the new Titan, and looks like there's also going to be a seasonal version of Yamantau, so I guess probably a Christmas version. Here's the new robot. This thing is going to have the ability with the two built-in weapons, and then also it's going to have shield breaker from the pilot, and then the passive ability where it's invincible, which is, at least on the test server, that was very powerful. So we're going to see how well that still carries this robot, because if there's still 4 ability charges for that and they last as long as it did on the test server, that thing is probably going to be the new best tank in the game. And then here's all the stats. You can read through those. Just pause the video. And then here are the new weapons. We're going to see how powerful they are. They do have a range of 600 meters, which is good. It's pretty decent range, and it's only a 5-second reload. So we're going to see how those go. The pilot is also pretty strong. It has 2 slots for the robot with the weapons, which is different because it's normally just 1. So that's probably going to be the new thing just on average now. We're also going to see if they'll update old pilots. And then the new Titan, the Princeps. This thing is also going to be an absolute tank with the ability where it's invincible, or it's invulnerable, sorry. We're going to have, it's also going to have the pushback, so that's going to help against like swords and something like a Mauler where it won't be able to deal the death marks and such. And then here are all the stats. Pause the video to look through those. The new Titan weapons, which are basically just energy turrets, machine guns. Those are going to be pretty annoying, and they're also really powerful against all shields. The new pilot, which applies the slowdown, the movement speed, and then more stasis barrier effects. And then the ultimate Typhon. This thing, I'm not sure how good it's going to be, because with all the new shield breaker effects, this thing might be one of the more disappointing ultimate robots. Here are the stats. It doesn't, I don't see anything about the shield, so I guess we're just going to have to wait to see how strong that's going to be. The ultimate wasp. These are going to be pretty powerful. The reload is 10 seconds still. Well, it was 6 on the test server, so I guess we'll see if they change that. If they bring it back down, though, they probably will be some of the best ultimate weapons in the game. And then the new Gloria Putnam pilot for the ultimate Typhon. This also has the 2 abilities, so that probably is just going to be a normal thing for pilots now, which is kind of annoying. They really didn't need to do that. That's just going to be making certain robots even more powerful and just kind of make older pilots even weaker. And then there's the new Rex pilot, also 2 abilities. It looks like the second one is always going to be the weapons. I wonder if they'll ever change that, but for right now, it's the weapons that were supposed to go along with that robot. And then here's all the balance changes. Blaze, Igniter, and Ember. These all got a bit of a nerf. They didn't really need a nerf. I don't know why they did that, but I mean, they do have more ammo and a larger area of effect, so maybe it actually could be a slight buff. I guess we'll have to see. The Marquis, Hussar, and Dragoon all got nerfed pretty significantly, which makes sense. They were probably one of the better free-to-play weapons right now, especially at range. Avalanche got a slight buff, it looks like. I mean, actually, no, it's probably a nerf. The ammo is halved, so that's going to be pretty rough. That's having the damage output, so that's pretty annoying. The Redeemer got a massive nerf, which is very annoying. These are some of the best heavy free-to-play weapons. They didn't need to do that. Every single time there's a good free-to-play weapon, Pixonic likes to nerf it, which is just very frustrating. The Shock Train got a slight buff, I think. It's kind of hard to tell because of the ammo decrease, so we're just going to have to see. The Puncher got, it's probably a nerf because once again the ammo is halved, so the damage, even though there's a damage buff right here, overall the damage output is halved, so we're going to have to see, but probably on a live server that's going to be a massive nerf as well. And the Viper got a big nerf as well, which they didn't need that. Very few people are running the Viper. They weren't that good. For Titans, the Atlas, it's going to get a massive nerf, which it needs. That thing's absorbers up almost constantly. That's good. The Mauler is getting a massive nerf, it looks like, especially to durability. And then the Dark Light also has a much smaller range, but it does have a bigger, it has a stronger death mark. So it actually, it might be just fine, which is good to all those Mauler players. I very much dislike this robot, but I know it's very much a good free-to-play Titan, so it's never good when those get nerfed. The Bersaglier is overall getting a buff, except for the crossbow, but this thing does not need a buff. It really needs the pilot nerf. It needs a pilot nerf, and it needs the cooldown for its jump to be increased. So I don't understand why they're nerfing or buffing that. That's kind of annoying. The Eiffel is getting a decent nerf, I believe. Yeah, and it won't change too much because it does get some more health, but also gets decreased damage. So that might just stay the same. I won't worry about that. The Indra though is getting a overall pretty big nerf. This one is very frustrating. This is probably the best free to play robot right now. It's very popular too. So they're just nerfing this because they want people to pay for the new robot. Pixonic, that's just their cycle. It's extremely annoying. We can't do anything about it, unfortunately. But yeah, their Indra is going to be much less playable. The Luchador is getting a reduced jump. That could actually significantly decrease it since that is already one of the slowest Titans. So we're gonna have to play that and see. I do have a video coming out soon about the Luchador where you can start with over 2 million health. And then the Nodens is getting a bit of a buff. I'm not sure why they're doing that. It's still not going to be that good. But hopefully, maybe that'll be an option now because it is getting a large increase to the repairs. The Sharinga is getting a decent buff. It's going to be stronger and it can phase exile more frequently. I would like to see the phase exile have a larger range, and I do wish they had some more defense for this, but overall that's nice that that's at least getting a buff. And then for the Void and Chasm, they're overall getting a pretty decent nerf. They're going to have a lot more dispersion, which is good because they're shotgun weapons and they can hit accurately like 400 meters. So that's good. Unfortunately, the Munin and Hugin are getting a massive nerf, which is annoying. Those are probably some of the best, I would say almost free-to-play weapons right now. They're pretty fun. And this is just an insane nerf. This is like almost having either of these. So hopefully those are still decent, but I strongly doubt it, especially with the halved ammo. Then the Equalizer and Arbiter are also getting a pretty significant nerf. These weapons, I'm actually kind of happy seeing nerfed. These also are very annoying for me, but they are free to play, and so overall, whenever you see a free to play weapon or Titan or robot or anything getting nerfed, it's always just very annoying. And then the Vaha and Mahavajra are also getting a massive nerf, which is infuriating. These already weren't amazing due to previous nerfs. Now these are going to be almost unplayable in Champion League. That's just another Titan weapon that can't be used anymore. The Striker getting a massive nerf, also unnecessary. They weren't that good anyway. The Vora and Veyron are getting I would overall say a slight buff because these are already basically only 100-meter range weapons, which is nice. These are probably some of my favorite Titan weapons, and the gray damage is really good against something like Maulers. It also could be pretty good against a new Titan, especially when it can't take damage. So hopefully that is a good nerf. I mean, a good buff. Excuse me. And the Anguisher and Ruiner are getting a pretty big nerf as well. These were already pretty bad. Now they're going to be even worse. No one ever really even plays these anyway. But if you do have these, unfortunately, they're not usable anymore. And the Basilisk overall is getting a slight buff because it does have less DOT, but it has more direct damage. So overall, it's a slight buff. However, no one really uses these. Maybe they'll be viable after the update. And then the Yangli, this is one of the most frustrating updates, is now it won't work on any Titans released after 11.5. This is supposed to be a universal Titan pilot. They didn't need to change this. It already wasn't amazing. It was, however, good enough, especially for free-to-play players. This is a ridiculous nerf, and it's very annoying. And now they also made it so the arm weapons work on the Auto Schrader, which isn't that big of a deal. Ultimate Arthur is getting a massive nerf. This is going to be worse than some normal Titans, which is ridiculous. It's an ultimate equipment. People are paying a lot of money for this. They should still be usable. Anytime ultimate stuff gets nerfed, it's infuriating. It should always just be getting rebalanced. It should always be a viable option. The ultimate Grom, I would say overall it's honestly a slight buff because it's getting more ammo. That one's, even if it is a nerf, it's not that bad. So those might still be playable. Now the ultimate sword is getting a pretty significant nerf. Its strength was how long it could attack in sword form, and that's getting almost halved. So maybe though it is faster overall, so it might be fine. We'll have to see. The Ultimate Leech is getting a good nerf, which it needs. This thing is still probably going to be one of the best ultimate robots still. Right now it's almost unkillable, especially with Ultimate Columbus. So that's a good nerf. Happy to see that one. The Ultimate Griffin is getting a decent nerf. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people think it's going to be. It can jump more often, and it still has decent blinding. So overall, I'd say that it's still going to be a pretty viable option. Ultimate Destrier is getting a buff. That's nice to see. That thing needs it, and plus it's one of the original robots. We'd love to see that. Ultimate Fujin's getting a buff. This is one of my favorite Ultimate robots. Happy to see that. Spectre's getting a slight buff. I rarely see people play this, so I don't know how impactful that'll be. Invader's getting a slight buff, which is good. That thing needs it. Ultimate Mender's also getting a slight buff, which is good. Ultimate Ares is also getting a slight buff. So some Ultimate things overall. Overall, pretty happy with the Ultimate robot rebalance changes. However, the ultimate weapons, it's very annoying. These are all getting nerfed significant. Most of these are getting nerfed significantly. Ultimate arms getting nerfed decent. Ultimate shredder overall, it's probably gonna be a slight nerf because it's can't. You're gonna have to be closer, but it's a damage buff, so that one might not be too bad. However, 61% increase dispersion could be rough, so we'll have to see. The Columbus are getting a nerf, which they need. They're still probably going to be some of the strongest ultimate weapons in the game. They do have more ammo, which is annoying, but at the very least, the damage has been decreased a bit. I would like to see a larger nerf, hopefully, but maybe it could actually be more balanced from now. The Ultimate Scourge is getting a nerf overall, which I don't feel like it needs. It's really not that powerful, so that's just annoying to see. Ultimate Havoc, I would say probably a slight buff because there's more damage per particle, especially on something like the Ultimate Scorpion. These things are still going to be absurd. These honestly needed a slight nerf more than anything. I don't know why they're doing that. The Ultimate Hussar, Ultimate Dragoon are getting a big nerf, which is also infuriating. Very few people run these. They don't need these. They need to stop just changing ultimate stuff, especially when people pay so much. They should be a lot more consistent in the game. The Ultimate Avenger are getting a nerf. They don't need these at all. These are just decent weapons. They're fun for people. They're more like old war robots, which is what we like to see. So that's annoying that they're getting nerfed. Ultimate Vortex getting a big nerf. Um, the, the intervals getting decreased for the reload though, so that's nice to see. Ultimate Ion are getting a big nerf. They don't need that. Ultimate Tehran, Ultimate Redeemer also getting big nerfs, which is annoying. They're the newest Ultimate weapons. They don't need big nerfs like that. The Teth is getting a massive nerf, which we like to see. This thing is overpowered, so that's good that it's finally getting nerfed. The Sword is getting a big nerf overall. Durability is decreased, and the damage for the execute is also decreased significantly, so that's going to be a lot less viable in the meta. The Sam Jock is going to be much worse now, which is good. Most annoying robot in the game. Really easy to play. It's going to have 100% more fuel consumption, so the ability is going to be much shorter. The Condor overall, I'd say, is getting a nerf. It is getting durability and movement speed increases, but the flight duration is decreased quite a bit. Same, and the cooldown's increased. The Raptor is getting a nerf, which it also doesn't need. The Ravager is getting nerfed. That doesn't need that. The Dux is getting nerfed. The Mender is getting a buff. The Wayland, the Nightingale, and Demeter, those are all getting buffed, which is good. More healing robots are needed in the game, so that's nice to see. Fafnir is getting a slight buff, but overall it's not much better. Hopefully this is going to be a bit more playable now since the built-in weapon is going to be stronger, but I would like to see more health to it as well since in the air it's so vulnerable. The Hawk is getting a slight buff, which is good. The Seraph is getting a slight buff. However, it's not going to be that big of a difference. The strength of the Seraph is the force field, so that's really not going to change anything. And then the Mars is getting a bit of a buff to the Aegis shield and the turret damage. However, most of these buffs are very minor, excepting something like the Demeter, since it's going to have a larger range and shorter cooldown. But overall, these buffs really are just trying to distract you from all your equipment being nerfed. And then the Strix is getting a slight durability buff, but all the other buffs they were planning on putting through aren't there, so the Strix really isn't going to be much better. And then the Teth weapons are all getting nerfed, which is good. They are some of the strongest weapons in the game, and they can still go through walls though, so this is probably going to have a place in the meta. The arm weapons are getting nerfed very significantly. It's around half, but they are percentile-based weapons, so it probably won't be too bad because the percentage damage is where it's truly the strongest. And then the Gangle, Magwan, and Kyrian, these are getting nerfed, which it isn't a great nerf, but it could have been a lot worse. The ammo is getting buffed. There's going to be more dispersion, and then so overall, I think it's a nerf, but it's not that bad since there's going to be more ammo. And the strength of these really is the crumble effect. Most people only run like one on their robot with more powerful weapons like the Teth weapons. So overall, it's probably not going to be that bad. And the Howler, Growler, and Screamer are all getting buffs to the damage, and then also they're getting a damage bonus decrease. However, that wasn't very noticeable. So I think overall, this is a decent buff, which is good. Those are because the gray damage weapons are always viable in the meta. The Regulator is getting a nerf. It doesn't need that. But one of the better free-to-play weapons. It's very annoying. Magnetar overall is getting a massive nerf. The ammo is getting over halved, so it's going to have basically 0 damage output. This, I don't know why they did this. No one runs the Magnetars. They're not that powerful. They're just getting rid of free-to-play weapons, and it's ridiculous. The Prisma are getting a massive nerf as well. Those are no longer going to be some of the better long-range weapons, so unfortunately those aren't playable anymore. The Reaper are getting a big nerf. The damage is decreased and the shot interval is increased, so overall it's just going to take longer to fire clip, and they already have such a long reload that these are definitely going to be awful now. And the Trickster and Deceiver are getting a buff, which they need. These are probably some of the worst weapons in the game, even though they're tier 4. However, these are still probably going to be awful. We'll just have to see when they hit the live server. And the Shatter, Splinter, and Brisant all are getting buffs and less dispersion, so that's actually really good. These are pretty fun shotgun weapons. This buff, hopefully it'll be decent, so we'll just have to see how that goes. The Boom, Bash, Pow are getting reduced shaking, which is great. That's just a stupid effect. I don't know why they added it. It's not decreasing. It's not getting rid of your lock-on or anything. It's just a dumb effect. I'm glad that's reduced. And then the Apo, this is one of the best robots, or best drones for, like, flying robots, is being applied only to the Leo Nuo, basically. So that's extremely annoying. And then also the flight duration is increased, so now this is going to be usable for basically 0 other flight robots now, which is just a stupid thing. It's a drone. I hate how they're just applying drones to like very specific things now. The Hiroko is getting a massive nerf. It doesn't need that. This is probably the best free-to-play drone, so that's infuriating. See, the durability is halved, and then the damage bonus isn't permanent, so that's just stupid. And then it's also getting decreased damage from the villain weapon. Then the Shy is getting less defense points, so that's also a big nerf. And then the Frederick is getting a massive nerf. They're doing that so the Stealther can become more popular. It's decreased damage, decreased movement speed, and then the stack decay rate. I believe this means it's going to last longer, but I may be reading that backwards, so not quite sure on that. And then the Avalon's going to have decreased repairs and fewer stacks of cleanse. And the Bifrost is actually getting a bit of a buff. It's going to have more defense points, and then also they're going to last longer, and they're just going to stay longer as well. And then the Beholder is getting a nerf. However, it might actually start applying damage correctly, so maybe it could be a buff, because that thing is probably the glitchiest mothership in the game. The Mute is getting a decent buff, 2 more seconds to the blind and EMP duration, so that's actually a pretty decent buff. I already run the Mute. I'm happy to see that, but other people might want to pull that out of storage. And then for the Titans, the Self-Fix is getting decreased repairs, and so that's going to be unusable now. The Time Repair Amp is getting a slight nerf. Overall, it's not that bad, especially if you have something like the Luchador or Mauler that doesn't take as much gray damage. This is still going to be very much usable. And then for Ultimate Track, if you have an Ultimate Titan, it's going to get decreased damage and durability from the permanent effects. You're going to have more durability from the armor kit. You're going to have more damage from the antimatter reactor. And then you're also going to get more durability and damage from the Grand Balance Reactor. So if you have an Ultimate Titan, most of those are buffs. And then for the Titan Last Stand, it's longer duration, and the Munamp now has more durability and more movement speed. This thing is still rarely run, so I doubt it's going to be used that much, especially with the Last Stand being increased by 2 seconds for all the Bjorn players. And then for the specializations, the modules were swapped, and then beacons are being capped faster now with that. So people might actually start running that. I don't know if it's worth it, but 15% was awful, so maybe. And then the Robot Accelerator is getting a massive buff, so something like the Amugi or like the Lynx that can use those is going to be a lot faster now. That's nice to see. They fixed a lot of bugs. Overall, I hate this balance. They got rid of a lot of really good free-to-play robots and weapons, which isn't necessary, and then they also just start... I hate when they nerf ultimate things, especially when people run them and then has paid money for them. It's infuriating. They shouldn't do that. They just need to learn to balance the game better. War Robots is definitely one of the games that needs to work on that. Overall, there are some decent buffs like the Demeter and stuff, but it's not good overall. Okay, see you guys in the next video.